Hello, and welcome to another episode of Child Abuse Awareness. Darlene J. Clark. Be a part of the solution instead of part of the problem. Welcome to my channel. Please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you for coming. Thank you for supporting me. And thank you for watching. Don't forget to comment as well. Sitting with heavy stuff today. With thoughts and prayers. Yeah, I am an advocate. Maybe you'll be able to share with her my story that I had shared a couple of days ago. Yeah, yeah. But I had shared the video the other day. She'll be able to go see a lot more of it and all too, so she'll understand. And you could even share that PDF I sent to you. Okay. Welcome, Bucket. Welcome, Kaleidoscope. Hi there, Jackie. Nice to see you. Much love to you all. Y'all know how I always like to start. I always like to start off with Bible verses. There's a lot of people say, they get offended at God. And here I am to show you that even God don't like what's going on. But whoso shall offend one of these little ones, which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and that he were drowned in the depth of the sea. Matthew 18, verse 10. Take heed that ye despise not one of these little ones. For I say unto you, that in heaven their angels do always behold the face of my Father which is in heaven. In Colossians 3:21, fathers, do not embitter your children, or they will become discouraged. You got that right. In Isaiah 1:17, well, I have a lot of churches around here who do not want to talk to me because they said I'm an abomination to God because I am talking about this, because I'm bringing it to awareness. But here it says in the Bible, Isaiah 1:17, learn to do right, seek justice, defend the oppressed, take up the cause of the fatherless, plead the case of the widow. Yes, I am doing right. These other people need to get their hearts right and do right. In Proverbs 28, verse 5, evil men understand not judgment, but they that seek the Lord understands all things. Thank you all for coming. Blondie, good to see you, girl. Thank you for coming. I appreciate every one of y'all. Please hit the thumbs up. So today the issue is coming from the National Center Missing and Exploited Children. The issues. Today's issue we're talking about is child sexual abuse, and then I'll do a Canadian survivor survey. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I might need to move my computer again because I probably got it at a bad angle again where it's let me stymied. I'll meet my friend, Blondie. Okay, you're going to share the entire screen. Y'all remember back at the time they used to say sex abuse was taboo to talk about. Look at this boy. This is a good representation. This boy, this girl, I'm not sure which it is. Look at the shame that this person feels, the guilt. That's often how we feel. The overview. United States federal law defines child pornography as any visual depiction of sexually explicit conduct involving a minor, a person less than 18 years old. Outside of the legal system, NEC chooses to refer to these images as child sexual abuse material. See the abbreviation anytime y'all see CSAM, it means child sexual abuse material. To most accurately reflect what is depicted, the sexual abuse and exploitation of children. Not only do these images and videos document victims' exploitation and abuse, but when these files are shared across the internet, child victims suffer re-victimization each time the image of their sexual abuse is viewed. In a recent survey led by the Canadian Centre for Child Protection, 67% of CSAM survivors said the distribution of their images impacts them differently than the hands-on abuse they suffered before the distribution never ends and the images are permanent. Yes, it's bad enough that we suffer from their sexual abuse. It's horrific. It is something. We try to say we heal, but we don't heal 100% because a lot of times it rears its ugly head. It's like a slap in the face. But we can deal with it a lot better when we get older. Some of us have lasting repercussions where it affects us physically, and we can't help that. If that's where we at, we need to blame the perpetrator and not the victim. So tired of us victims having to take the blame. It's important to remember CSAM consists of much more than images and video files. What's seen and transmitted on computers and through other technology, these images and videos depict actual crimes being committed against children. The human element, children at risk, must always be considered when talking about this offense that is faced in a high-tech world. Think of the case we recently heard about with the Soto case. All those images, all those charges against that man. They found all these pictures. Um, I think what was her name? Madeline? Can y'all tell me what her first name was? The Soto girl? Was it Madeline Soto? The disturbing reality is that the internet platforms we use every day to connect with each other and share information, including social media, online gaming, and email, are now being used to disseminate and collect CSAM. It can be found in virtually any online realm. By all means, when your kids are online playing video games, using their Xboxes, using their different systems that they get online gaming, please keep a watch on them. Don't just trust it. Monitor your children at all times. Who are the victims? Well, there is limited research regarding victims of child sexual abuse material. It is a growing field of research and study to better understand the child victims and the offenders. In March of 2018, two studies on this topic were released. The first study is Production and Active Trading of Child Sexual Exploitation Images Depicting Identified Victims, which I'll do that study another day. Hold on, let's see the production of it. We will go and show that one today, okay? I believe. Which is based on data collected by NCMEC's Child Victim Identification Program through 2014. The second study is it's an indicator on unidentified victims in child sexual exploitation material, which is based on data and intervals. I'll show you which one we're going to go over here. This is the March 2018 Production and Active Trading of Child Sexual Exploitation Images Depicting Identified Victims. Here's a research team right here. Here are the names. This is from Royal Ottawa Healthcare Group, Johns Hopkins University, Medical University of South Carolina, University of Edinburgh, in cooperation with National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, funded by Thorn. Okay. This is historical. Actively traded cases involved identified victims July the 1st through 2002 through June 30th, 2014. 518 cases involving 933 identified victims. Modern all cases involving identified victims. It's July 1st, 2011 through June 30th, 2014. 1,965 cases, one offender and one victim. 633 cases, multiple offenders and or victims. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children has access to unique data about child exploitation images, particularly those involving identified victims and offenders and reported by multiple law enforcement agencies. Yesterday, I did a podcast on sextortion. It has grown exponentially. You'll need to go watch that and share that. It is sickening on what was done and what is being done and it growing and how they are harming our kids. Even a lot of people that date, they have to go through that exploitation that they try to get them. Through the cooperation of NCMEC and with the financial support of Thorn, we were able to extract data from NCMEC databases to address multiple research questions. The primary objective in this project was to develop knowledge to assist law enforcement and identify victims of child sexual abuse material and intervening to prevent child sexual exploitation and abuse. In a study, the first of its kind, we were able to analyze data from two different data sets. Historical data set that encompassed actively traded cases involving identified victims from July the 1st, 2002 to June the 30th, 2014. 518 cases involving 933 victims. Two modern data set encompassing all cases involving identified victims from July the 1st, 2011 to June the 30th, 2014, involving one offender and one victim, and 633 cases involving multiple offenders and their victims. Only a small minority of these cases were actively traded. The historical set allowed us to examine trends over time, whereas a modern data set had more information due to more comprehensive law enforcement submission form implemented in 2011. The report highlights the most notable historical finding was a trend toward more egregious sexual content over time, with more cases involving explicit sexual conduct in later years. In contrast, there were no obvious trends in terms of child victim age or gender. In cases involving a single victim and single offender, actively traded cases were associated with having pubescent victims, so before puberty. Actively traded cases were also associated with more egregious content in terms of sexual activity and more likely to involve familial offenders, family offenders, okay? Particular nuclear family members. While most cases involved male offenders who were unrelated to the child, cases involved female offenders, younger children, and or more egregious content were more likely to involve familial offenders. These results have implications for law enforcement investigations regarding adult-created child pornography cases through a better understanding of the relationships between child, offender, and offense characteristics. It said below are the key findings. Girls appeared in the overwhelmingly majority of CSAM. I'm having trouble saying that word right now. I'm sorry. Prepubescent children. I usually can say it, I promise y'all. Are at the greatest risk to be depicted in CSAM. When boys are victimized, they are more likely than the girls to be subjected to very explicit or egregious abuse. On average, boys depicted in CSAM are younger than girls and more likely to have not yet reached puberty. 78% of reports regarding online enticement involved girls and 15% involve boys. In 8% of reports, the gender of the child could not be determined. Okay, I'm going to look for something right quick. I'm going to stop sharing the screen as I look it up. Thank you so much. I'm sorry no one could hear you. I hope we're here to hear you. We're here for you. We hear that it's a very bad crime. We know that I have been through similar as some of the people who knows I have been. But no one can hear you unless you're on the screen right now. But and your words, they can hear you. So hold on a minute while I look something up right quick. So go amongst and be talking and supporting each other for a minute, please. Sorry. So please bear with me a minute, okay? Well, I found this other stuff about the agreement of a lot of people, but like clergy, we already know that about clergy. It could be anywhere. It could be from school teachers. It could be from your own parents. It could be from just saying that validation. I'm gonna get in here. Oh no, it's like no internet. We hear your pain. So, have y'all been having internet issues as well? Seems like it just like no internet, no internet. Like hurry up and load so I can share it. Okay. Gets that load and it's gonna be better. So come on now, get with the program. You know y'all don't want to see something going loading. Here we go. So present, share screen. Yeah, I can't even run my TV right now because it's messing up that bad. So here's the types of abuse where we got bullying and cyberbullying, child sexual exploitation, child trafficking, criminal exploitation and gangs, domestic abuse, emotional abuse, female genital mutilation, which y'all, I'm sorry to say, I have been through that as well. Grooming, neglect, non-recent abuse, online abuse, physical abuse, and sexual abuse. So let's go hit this. This is with the let's see, nspcc.org in the UK. Like, what is child abuse? Child sexual abuse? So that's what we want to hit on today, right? All about the child sexual abuse, not the fact that they're showing pictures, which is horrific. We need Okay, sexual abuse. If you're worried about sexual abuse, we're here to support you. We have information and advice to help navigate through a difficult time. Finding out your child, friend, or family member has been sexually abused can be distressing, and you might not know what to do next. We're here to support you and your loved ones and give you the reassurance that you are doing the right thing and there's information and support out there for you. On this page, what is sexual abuse? Okay. What is sexual abuse? Signs of sexual abuse, effects of sexual abuse, report sexual abuse, prevent sexual abuse, help if you're worried about your behavior, types of sexual abuse, if a child reveals abuse, who's at risk. I hate it keep scrolling back up. Support for parents, children, and young people if your child fails. Okay? What is sexual abuse? When a child or a young person is sexually abused, they're forced, tricked, or manipulated into sexual activities. They might not understand that what's happening is abuse or that it's wrong for the abuser to do this to them. They might be afraid to tell someone or behave as though this is normal for them to experience. Both are valid for the child to be displaying. Sexual abuse can happen anywhere, and it can happen in person or it can happen online. It's never a child's fault that they are sexually abused. It's important to make sure children know this. Kaleidoscope, Chris knows how to get in touch with me, so be sure you could reach out to me if you want to anytime. Types of sexual abuse. There are two types: contact and non-contact abuse. And sexual abuse can happen in person or online, which we did yesterday. We talked about sextortion, and it has grown exponentially. If you watch that video, you will be shocked. That's the truth. That's horrible. That's horribly. That's what happens a lot of times. No one listens. No one listens. We got to find some ways to get our children to be listened and to be heard, don't we? There's bikers against this as well. These bikers will come up and they'll help. Contact abuse. Contact abuse is where an abuser makes physical contact with a child or forces a child to make physical contact with someone else. This includes sexual touching of any part of a child's body, whether they are clothed or not. Using a body part or object to rape or penetrate a child. Forcing a child to take part in sexual activities. Making a child undress or touch someone else. Contact abuse can include touching, kissing, and oral sex. Sexual abuse isn't just penetrative. To note, they always make the child feel like they're the guilty ones. You made me do this. If you weren't so pretty, I'd tell y'all about one incident about if I had known who this person was that he victimized, I wanted to know the name so I could report it, but I didn't know no name. But he told me that he was at a friend's house and the girl was about 6 years old wearing a bathing suit. He said, she always tempts me. She wears those sexy clothes. 5 or 6 year old, excuse me, she had a little swimming pool outside to swim in. The little girl might go up to just as a friendly way to hug him, but not to seduce a grown man. No. He said, then I started messing with her. I said, does the parents know? He said, no. I said, I hope to God they find out. I said, you need to let me know the name. He wouldn't let me know the name. I hope and pray that this person ended up getting arrested, but she ended up telling her parents. Sick, sadistic people out there. A child in a bathing suit that's swimming out in their own yard, and this perpetrator comes up and visits the family. Then he starts touching, saying the kid seduced him? A 6-year-old? I don't think so. Non-contact abuse is where a child is abused without being touched by the abuser. This can be in person or online. It includes exposing or flashing, showing pornography, exposing a child to sexual acts, making them masturbate, forcing a child to make, view, or share child abuse images or videos, making, viewing, or distributing child abuse images or videos, forcing a child to take part in sexual activities or conversations online or through a smartphone. Find out more about grooming and child sexual exploitation. Although their definitions are slightly different to sexual abuse, they're all forms of child abuse. Emotional and behavioral signs, physical signs. Okay, we want to see what the emotional and behavioral signs are. Avoiding being alone with or frightened of people or person they know. Language or sexual behavior you wouldn't expect them to know. Having nightmares or bedwetting. Alcohol or drug misuse. Self-harm. Changes in eating habits or developing an eating problem. Changes in their mood, feeling irritable and angry or anything out of the ordinary. Change in normal behavior for the child, for example, suddenly not attending education or avoiding wanting to go home or running away. Physical signs. If a child is being or has been sexually abused online, they might spend a lot more or less time than usual online, texting, gaming, or using social media. Seem distant, upset, or angry after using the internet or texting. Be secretive about who they're talking to and what they're doing online or on their mobile phone. Behaving as though they have to be online at a certain time or rushing to get on their phone. Have lots of new phone numbers, text, or email addresses on their mobile phone, laptop, or tablet. Expressing the need for money, this may be used if they are being blackmailed, like the sextortion we went over yesterday. If you're worried about a child and want to talk to them, we have advice on having difficult conversations. I will put the link to this website copy in the display over here right quick. I will put it up for y'all. Here it is right there across the screen right there. Do y'all see that on the screen? You can contact, and this is the UK, so it's not here in the United States, but still, you could get on here and see this advice on having difficult conversations. Visit our information advice on online safety. Hello, Carla. Good to see you. If a child reveals abuse, if a child talks to you about sexual abuse, it's important to be sure you listen carefully to what they are saying. Don't push them to too much, but allow them to talk freely or answer. And don't put words into their mouths if you want to go, and because when you go legally, they'll say if you say these certain words when the kid didn't say it, then you're kind of like feeding the kid. You kind of like it's not directly what the kid's statement is. So you got to really listen to the child and not add words to the situation. Let them know they've done the right thing by telling you. Tell them it's not their fault. You tell them you're taking them seriously. You're quite welcome, Carla. Don't confront the alleged abusers. Let law enforcement, let the proper channels confront the abuser. Explain what you'll do next, which of course is take them to the hospital, take them to the doctor, have them checked. Report what the child has told you as soon as possible. Decide if they need medical attention. The effects of sexual abuse. Sexual abuse can have both short and long-term effects. The impact of sexual abuse can last a lifetime. Children, young people, and adults may live with anxiety and depression, eating disorders, post-traumatic stress, difficulty coping with stress, self-harm, suicidal thoughts and suicide, flashbacks or nightmares, sexually transmitted infections, pregnancy, feelings of shame, guilt, and isolation, drugs and alcohol problems, relationship problems with family, friends, and partners. Our services can support children and young people who have experienced sexual abuse to help support them and to make sure they receive the care they need. Well, my friend Blondie could probably validate that school I was quiet. Even in PE, I would sit there when she got up on the stage and I sat beside her. She would get me to sit beside her, and but I wouldn't talk. I didn't know what to say. I was too afraid to talk, basically. But I would smile. But no one knew the inside horror. But I felt like Blondie had known somewhat. She could see the hurting that I was going through. And thank you for being a true friend all these years, Blondie. I appreciate you. Any child is at risk of being sexually abused. It's important to remember that both boys and girls can be sexually abused. Most children who have been sexually abused are abused by someone they know. This could be a family member, a friend, or someone who has targeted them, like a teacher or sports coach. That's true. Children who are sexually abused online could be abused by someone they know. They could also be abused by someone who commits a one-off sexually abusive act or a stranger who builds a relationship with them. Some children are more at risk of sexual abuse. Children with disabilities are more likely to be sexually abused, especially those who are unable to tell someone what's happening or don't understand what's happening to them is abuse. Look at all these people like Joe Clyde Daniels, who was autistic, that who couldn't speak. Look at all these people. They're saying that they're easy targets to these predators. Some abusers target children who may be isolated. For example, a child may be in a care or they may already be neglected by their parents or carers. Other abusers target families or children who have no obvious vulnerabilities. It's important to remember that a child is innocent and the abuser is at fault. Well, my own abusers, as y'all know, were my parents. My own abusers were the people that let other perpetrators harm me. To report sexual abuse, contact the children's social care team at their local council. If you're in this area of the UK, call 999 if the child is at immediate risk, or call 101 if you think a crime has been committed. Call Crime Stoppers anonymously or online. Call our helpline. Our dedicated child protection specialist will be available to advise and take any necessary action. which we also need to report 1-800 for a child. I hope I still have that as a banner. Let me see if I do here. 1-800 for a child. Let's see. I hope I still have it in here. I don't see it in here at the moment. Okay, let me create a banner right quick. One. Be sure y'all write that number down. Okay? That's to call any type of abuse. 1-800 for a child. Which one day we're going to do their link and talk about this stuff too, as well. For parents, finding out your child has been sexually abused can be frightening and distressing, but there's help for you and your children. We Stand supports non-abusing parents and carers whose children have been sexually abused. For children and young people, we run therapeutic services for children who have experienced or are at risk of sexual abuse in their families. This is different areas where in the UK, in control, letting the future in. But you got the link right there, not the one scrolling, but that's a link where you could go to click on these different programs here. Prevent sexual abuse. Here's about talking to children to stay safe. Teaching children and young people about healthy relationships and how to stay safe online can help prevent sexual abuse and exploitation. These foundations can be laid out from a young age. Our Pants Rules are a simple way to teach younger children how to stay safe from abuse. There's also a song out there about my body is my body is my body, you know? It's a song that teaches. Your child may have already had the talks in school, but it's important to talk to them at school at home too. We have tips and advice on how to have difficult conversations. It's also important to make sure children and young people know there are trusted adults, including outside the home, they can speak to about their worries, such as school or online. You can ask your child's school to book a free Speak Out Safely, Stay Safe assembly for primary school children, or specially trained staff and volunteers hold assemblies and workshops. I hope they do have some things like that um, in the United States as well. Know what to do if you're worried about sexual abuse in gangs. It can be difficult to know what to do to help protect young people, whether a child is thinking about joining a gang, is already involved, or want to leave. They need help and support. Help children stay safe online, which encourage transparency in what your children are doing online. You can keep gaming devices and computers and laptops with webcams in the living room or family spaces. The bedroom is always a bad place for your kids to have the gaming systems when you cannot keep contact on what they're saying and doing. Keeping deaf and disabled children safe. We know parents and carers of deaf and disabled children and young people can worry about keeping their children safe from abuse. Some children and young people may not be aware of the dangers of abuse or aren't able to let someone know they're not safe because it may be harder for them to show or tell someone. There's a range of guides you can download to help children learn the pants rules without using any scary words. You can look at these together and talk about what pants means. We also got tips and advice to help you answer some of the common questions children and young people ask. For deaf children and young people, we have a video in British Sign Language with subtitles to help you share the pants rules. Our video on contacting Childline using Sign Video is a useful tool to help you explain different types of abuse and give children and young people the knowledge of who they can contact if they're worried. There's a price for getting that. If your child has sexually abused someone, we know that someone's children are abused by other young people. When this happens, it's harmful to both themselves and others. Children who develop behavior which harms others have often experienced abuse and neglect themselves. Sometimes children who have been sexually abused might not know what has happened to them is wrong, which makes them feel their sexual behavior towards others is okay. If your child has sexually abused or harmed another child, or you're worried about their behavior, it's important to get them the support they need. We run therapeutic services for children who are at risk of harming other children sexually. Okay, so we're going to go on down to, we're going to go back, sorry, get past that, get on back to, and I want to go about grooming. So I will look this up online about how they go about grooming. Okay, because grooming is very important aspect to what we're talking about. So please bear with me. All right, so I'm about to share this again. Thank you so much. Hello, Terry Pookie. Good to see you. Internet issues here too. Thank you so much. Trying to get this thing to come up about the agreement now because it ties all together. Whether people want to accept it or not, it does. Share screen. Entire screen. Okay. Here it says children and young people can be groomed online or in the real world or by a stranger or by someone they know. You're worried about a child. We have advice to help. What is grooming? Signs of grooming, effects of grooming. We'll go on down here and explain more. Grooming is when someone builds a relationship, trust, and emotional connection with a child or a young person so they can manipulate, exploit, and abuse them. I've listened to at least one who was abused, possible a second one who is mentally disabled. Yeah, I have been abused as well, been severely abused. I've been trafficked, but I have to get the word out because it's happening too often to our children. There's a link down below when y'all do hear or see a child being abused. Please tell. For children and young people who are groomed can be sexually abused, exploited, or trafficked. But I agree, it is hard to hear. Anybody can be a groomer, no matter the age, gender, or race. Grooming can take place over a short or long period of time, from weeks to years. Groomers may also build a relationship with a young person's family or friends to make them seem trustworthy or authoritative. Yeah, I actually had some people, I guess because I was groomed as a child, that children were to be seen but not heard. And then when somebody just came up, just touched, I felt that shock, but I couldn't tell nobody. Nobody cared. If my parents allowed people to do this. Types of grooming. Children and young people can be groomed online, in person, or both, by a stranger or someone they know. This can be a family member, a friend, or someone who targeted them, like a teacher, faith group leader, or sports coach. I'm sorry that you endured this. I'm glad that the people are in prison, though. But they're in prison for mental and physical abuse. I wonder if they're in there for sexual abuse as well. I hate the fact that they were abused at all. These people do not deserve the love of a child or to have children. When a child is groomed online, groomers may hide who they are by sending photos or videos of other people. Sometimes this will be of someone younger than them to gain the trust of a peer. They might target one child online or contact lots of children very quickly and wait for them to respond. That was not brought out in court. I'm just glad that they are in prison for what they had done to these children. I am proud that they are. Because a lot of people are not caught. A lot of people get away with this. So no matter how high the statistics are, there's so many cases out there that it's even greater. Y'all give hearts to Terry Pookie, please? Support her. Give her hearts. The relationship we give the person hearts up here as well. Kaleidoscope. Please give them hearts. The relationship a groomer builds can take different forms. This can be a romantic relationship as a mentor, an authority figure, a dominant and persistent figure. A groomer can use the same sites, games, and apps as young people, spending time learning about a young person's interests and use this to build a relationship with them. Children can be groomed online through social media networks, text messages, and messaging apps like WhatsApp, email, text voice and video chats, and forums, groups, and apps. Excuse me, y'all. I need to get me a drink or something. Whether online or in person, groomers can use tactics like pretending to be younger, giving advice or showing understanding, buying gifts, giving attention, taking them on trips. It's y'all some hearts, y'all too, for y'all what you enduring. Groomers may also try to isolate children from their friends and family, making them feel dependent on them and giving the groomer power and control over them. They might use blackmail to make a child feel guilt and shame, or introduce the idea of secrets to control, frighten, and intimidate. Twins were sexually abused by their stepdad, and children with PTSD do not learn in school because they are in survival mode. They had to feel safe and get into their frontal lobes. I can remember that. Yes, I had a lot of trouble retaining stuff because of the physical abuse. Also, I have traumatic brain injuries, and so they had damaged the part where I have trouble comprehending some things. What I had read, I had trouble retaining. My worry was survival. I enjoyed being at school, being away from the perpetrators. So it was hard to read or nothing, but you can actually have a breath of fresh air. But then at school, you're kind of afraid too when you got some people that are friends to your siblings that end up telling my siblings that dropped out of school and then my mom beating me for even talking to somebody at school. So you learned and you're afraid. You're just afraid to tell anybody. You're afraid who to go to. You don't know who or what you can trust. It's a good start. Unfortunately, the one that is mentally disabled now got behavior issues. Oh man. Y'all please pray for this young man. Needs prayers. Lord, please go with him. Please, Lord. Please. And please go with her children as well. Yeah, this is a big issue, ain't it? Thank you so much, our bucket list. Yeah, that's true. That's true. We had a case where we did an attorney not too long ago who was victimizing his tenants. Y'all remember that? He was by this time close to 80 year old, but he had probably been doing it for so many years. They did away with his the sex abuse claims, yet he was kicking them out of their mobile homes that they were renting and stuff unless they did these sexual acts for him and with him. Yet they kicked those out. He ended up losing his legal degree, but here he was close to 80 year old, so I don't think that bothered him too bad. I think what hurt him is having to give some money out to some of the people who he had damaged their lives. Groomers might also try to isolate children, like we did that from their friends and family, making them feel dependent on them and giving the groomer power and control over them. They might use blackmail to make a child feel guilt or shame and introduce the idea of secrets to control, frighten, and intimidate. That did along the lines as well as the sextortion that we showed yesterday. How they intimidated, how they started grooming, how they manipulated. It's important to remember that children and young people may not understand they've been groomed. They may have complicated feelings like loyalty, admiration, love, as well as fear, distress, and confusion. Because we're always telling our children, you do wrong, you're going to get punished. You go to court, you get reprimanded. Here they know that they've done wrong because of this behavior that this person exploited them. So they're ashamed or they're afraid to go to the parent. That's why a lot of times we need to open up our communications and tell our children if these things happen to us, if this thing happens to you, if this person tries to do this to you, these people might try to do this. My door is always open. I will sit there. I will listen. Y'all, when a kid knocks on the door, please don't say, "What do y'all want?" Don't yell at them or scream at them. That's going to make them afraid to come to you. Think of positive ways to get your children to come to you when there is a problem. Don't reprimand like, what do you want? What are you doing here? I'm too busy. Go on. Go play outside. I hear all these parents say this to the kids all the time. There's never hardly a time when a parent says, "Hi, how are you doing?" I had set a time, like at night, I would go to each one of my children's bedrooms and have a little bit of time with them, and we'll have a talk. There was a time when I let one of my sons go to one of my brother's houses, And it wasn't my brother that victimized him, it was his daughter. And my son came back and he said, Mama got to talk to you. Right away, my brother was still there. And we went in the bedroom and he said, Mom, she pulled down my pants and played my, they called it my wee wee. Okay. So I said, okay. He said, please don't go tell him. I said, I need to tell him. I said, let me get you. I said, hold on a minute, but it's okay. It's not your fault. I said, but you need to tell him because we need to handle this. We need to put a stop to this behavior. So I went and got my brother and he come in real lovingly and I could cry about it because he was so really good with my son too. And he said, what is it you want to tell me, buddy? And he told him. And boy, he got her real good. He reprimanded her really good. And he was telling my son, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. I'm sorry I didn't protect you and all this. Sorry, I'm crying thinking about how good this brother was based on all the other siblings in my family who's into this kind of thing happening with our children. They don't protect our children. But this is so heartwarming to see my brother show my son so much love and compassion and hug him and tell him it's not your fault. And my brother going like this and hugging him, just comfort him. It's good to see people like that. Some of the signs you might see include being very secretive about how they are spending their time, including when online, having an older boyfriend or girlfriend, having money or new things like clothes and mobile phones that they can't or won't explain, underage drinking or drug taking, spending more or less time online or on their devices, being upset, withdrawn, or distressed, sexualized behavior, language, or an understanding of sex that's not appropriate for their age, spending more time away from home or going missing for periods of time. But there was a conflict I had with two kids that had lived next door. This was about 3 years ago. This is a prime example, right? There was this boy that was in kindergarten and a girl in the first grade. The little boy, another neighbor, had asked me to help her move clothes from one dresser to another dresser. And so I did that. And I did not notice that there was happened to be a couple condoms in my hand too that's wrapped up in the clothes. Well, the 5-year-old boy says, I I know what that is. I know what that's for. And I thought, what? I didn't even know condom was right there, right? So I came back in there and I said, what's for? He said, a condom. He said, I know what that's for. I said, well, what is it for? He said, that's for a man to use on his, and he said the word, and I was shocked. And I said, what's that for? He said, so that they can have sex. I'm like, whoa, a 5-year-old boy knowing? I thought that was messed up. Do y'all agree with that? And then the girl was bouncing up and down, and I think she was 7 year old. And I said, what are you doing? She said, I'm emulating using a vibrator. I said, what? I went and told the mom about it. She said she'll handle it. And I doubt she did, because she's probably the reason behind it. I did the wrong thing, y'all. I did not report it. I did not report it. I did the wrong thing, y'all. But I went to the mother hoping she would handle it. She said, what? I should have went to the authorities. But I don't trust authorities. A lot of times they're not doing nothing about it either anytime I turn anybody in. Instead, they come and start harassing me. The child is unlikely to know they've been groomed. They might be worried or confused and less likely to speak to an adult they trust. If you're worried about a child and want to talk to them, we have advice, which we know about that. If a child reveals abuse, if a child talks to you about grooming, it's important to listen carefully to what they're saying. Let them know they've done the right thing by telling you. Tell them it's not their fault. Say you'll take them seriously. And it's important to also go to a private room with a child. Don't get him to confess all this stuff right there. Talk to him in private or talk to her in private. Let that child feel the safety surroundings. Let them know you are taking them seriously. Don't confront the abuser and explain what you'll do next. Report what the children has told you as soon as possible. Effects of grooming. Grooming can have both short and long-term effects. See, around the time when that had happened too, I was dealing with I had a couple strokes, but I still should have reported her. The impact of grooming can last a lifetime, no matter whether it happened in person, online, or both. A child or young person might have difficulty sleeping, be anxious, or struggle to concentrate or cope with schoolwork. Just as you said right there about schoolwork. They're having trouble concentrating or coping with schoolwork. They may become withdrawn, uncommunicative, and angry or upset. Children, young people, and adults may live with anxiety and depression, eating disorders, post-traumatic stress, difficulty coping with stress, self-harm, suicidal thoughts, sexually transmitted infections or diseases, pregnancy, feelings of shame and guilt, drug and alcohol problems, relationship problems with family, friends, and partners. They might not just have suicidal thoughts either. They might even attempt suicide. Who's at risk? Any child is at risk of being groomed, and it's important to remember that both boys and girls can be groomed. Children who are groomed online can be abused by someone they know. They can also be abused by someone who commits a one act off act or a stranger builds a relationship with them. Yeah, they should not know how to use those things at that age. That's true. We can take advantage. Yes. And by all means, y'all, at times, I don't know if y'all do this as well, but I'll go into a grocery store and I'll see a little child and I see it so happy and everything, but I see how the woman turns away some of the time and it's a little bitty baby and me knowing the effects of a person, how people just all of a sudden grab a child. Sometimes I just walk around and I keep an eye on that child and watch that child. Sometimes I watch a child just because I love seeing a happy baby and being treated good. And then I'll tell the parent, I said, don't worry about me. I said, I am an advocate against child abuse and I am admiring how you're treating your daughter or how you're treating your son. Okay, please do that, okay? No, it's not. It's not a word that they should. Yeah. She used the word emulate. So it's like she must have been told before if somebody or she's seen her mom saying or doing that, emulating. But why are you emulating or whatever? So I don't know how she knew that word when she was that young either. So that right there, you could tell that she was taught that word. COP, she might have seen her mama acting out and doing that in front of her also. You know what I'm saying? And she said, explaining to the daddy, oh, I'm just emulating, right? No telling how she knew it. of that I'm seeing acting out sexual abuse. I hope they take you serious, Carla. You can also contact your local child protective services or the police and report your concerns about any type of grooming, whether it's happening online or in person or both. It's important to remember that it's against the law to make or share images of child abuse. If you see a video or photo that shows a child being abused, don't comment, like, or share. Instead, report it to the website it's on, the police, or contact us and we'll report it to the police for you. Hey, that's an option. You can report it to them if we can't trust the police, right? But they're in the UK, so I don't know what good that would do. Worried about how to support a young person who has had a sexual image or video of themselves shared online? And we went over that yesterday. Go back and watch the sextortion video yesterday. They got report, remove tools, and that kind of stuff where you can call and they would help out with that. So this is all the support and everything. So now I also had said that I would go over this other thing. This is survivors survey of this organization. The Canadian Centre for Child Protection Incorporated is a charitable organization dedicated to the personal safety of all children. Our goal is to reduce the sexual abuse and exploitation of children, assist in the location of missing children, and prevent child victimization. The Canadian Centre operates cybertip.ca, Canada's tip line, to report online sexual abuse and exploitation of children, as well as other prevention and intervention services to assist the Canadian public. Our mission is to reduce the incidence of missing and sexually exploited children, educate the public on child personal safety and sexual exploitation, assist in the location of missing children, advocate for and increase awareness about issues related to missing and sexually exploited children. To the survivors of child sexual abuse. If you are a survivor of child sexual abuse, please know that our team is working very hard to make positive change happen for you and for future generations of survivors. We believe change is coming. It is important that we share with the public the reality of what we are seeing and hearing from survivors and what we are learning through our research and technical solutions. If you feel reading this information and our report might be difficult for you, or if you find yourself feeling distressed after reading it, we encourage you to reach out to supports in your community. This could include personal supports, family and friends, or professional supports, therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists, local counseling, and crisis response agencies. The online exploitation and abuse of children is a growing problem, and the Canadian Centre for Child Protection is invested in finding solutions that will prevent this crime and provide protection and support for those impacted by it. I'm going to scroll down because it's 40 pages long, so we're going to go on down. We went over some of the over that, but let's go to their questions and stuff, and what they found. Okay, right here. What we learned from the survivors. Okay, yes, they do. They need longer sentences. You got that right. I like it when I've seen cases when they're like 108 years with no possibility of bail. As previously mentioned, the survivors who completed the survey shared a tremendous amount of information about their abuse experiences and the day-to-day struggles they face. Notably, there was strikingly high degree of common responses and shared experiences despite the fact that survey respondents were located in several different countries, were able to respond to questions in their own words and could provide as much or as little detail as they chose. What follows are the key themes they need addressing and potential solutions, which became readily apparent from the in-depth review of the data. Okay, talk to you next time. Lots of love. I hope I see you again. God bless you. Recording. Number one, recording the sexual abuse of a child has a significant lifelong impact on the victim. The fact that the images, videos of a child's sexual abuse were created at all, as well as the fact that they may still be possessed by an abuser and be publicly available for others to access, has an enormously negative impact on the individual. The impact can persist into adulthood and may significantly reduce the ability of survivors to cope with day-to-day stressors, maintain healthy relationships, and reach their full potential in educational and occupational pursuits. Nearly 70% of respondents indicated that they worry constantly about being recognized by someone who has seen images of their abuse. 30 respondents reported being identified by a person who has reviewed child sexual abuse imagery. Yes, they have noticed me, and some of the people came up to me and had noticed and responded to me and told me. Different people have, not just the child of the daddy that did the child porno. He remembered me from ages 4 to 11 when I was in my 30s. And I was in the majority of his dad's child porno, and that he enjoyed, got excited still thinking about doing me. Then there was different people who grabbed me. They grabbed me in public places, saying you're coming with me. So they tried kidnapping attempts and different things like that on me. So yes, I do fear. I do fear. That is no joke. But child sexual abuse imagery is out there for anyone to see. I will forever be taken advantage of. It's not something that will ever go away. Being the adult I am now, my photos are still out there. As long as the internet exists, my photos will always be out there. Sites will be taken down, but new ones are somehow being put back up. As far as I know, there's just no way of permanently deleting these photos. There's no way I can finally be done with this abuse. I had to live my life guarded and could never fully trust anyone. My own father did this to me. A man placed in my life to protect me, not hurt me, abuse me. And now 1,000 other people continue to do the same. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. They had mine on reel to reel. So mine's still out there, personally being used, personally being dispersed. They're telling what they done with it. Most victims were abused from a young age by a family member, and for some, continuing into adulthood. For 56% of the survivors, the abuse began between ages 0 to 4, and 53% of those respondents indicated that the abuse continued into adulthood. I thank God that my father died when I was 14 years old. Is that bad to say, y'all? I thank God. So some of the stuff did not continue, but I was still with my stepmom. There was some bad things that she done. Held me down when her son raped me when I was a teenager. But that's in my book too. 58% of survivors reported having been abused by more than one person, some by multiple family members. 50% of the survivors abused by one person indicated that the abuser was a parent or extended family member, while 82% of the survivors who were abused by multiple offenders indicated that the primary abuser was a parent or extended family member. 36% of survivors indicated that sexual abuse continued into adulthood. We need to improve education and training on the issue of child sexual abuse among professionals to empower them to recognize and respond appropriately. Those in a position to uncover abuse must better understand the dynamics of different abuse situations, how to recognize and respond to abuse committed within a family context, and about the impact of trauma and how it can present in the victim. Such training could have significant impact on the ability of stakeholders to identify abusive situations and police survivors when they come forward. Sometimes the story is too incredible, but unfortunately it can still be founded in truth. Try to search for that with the victim. I was so scared when I talked to the police. To me, there was truly nothing worse than the idea that I was accusing my father. So strange. So horribly strange. Because he's done the most horrible things to me. But I was still so loyal. Try to take into account your work as police. Survivor in response to the question, what do you want police to know? Okay, here's right here. We did not go over what that advice would be on the pornography type of thing, having those pictures taken, but taking concrete steps to prevent new child sexual abuse material from becoming publicly available and curbing the public availability of images that have already been posted online. The ongoing harm to survivors and new victims can be reduced. Consideration should be given to adopted Project Arachnid as a global platform for quickly detecting and issuing notices to hosting providers that have an obligation to then immediately remove the material. Y'all see that? We need to try to get Project Arachnid as a global platform. Y'all see that? We need to stand up and have that done. We should not rely on disclosure alone to stop child abuse. There are a multitude of reasons why a child may not talk about the sexual abuse that's happening to them, the most prominent arising out of the power imbalance between the offender and the victim. Survivors reported that threats or physical abuse were commonly used, thus serving to silence victims and maintain their compliance. While many survivors did tell someone about the abuse at some point, many did not do so while the abuse was still happening or until they were adults. Because the thing about it is, the police knew and the police threatened me. The police threatened and told me, don't tell or they'll end up doing something to me. Even more concerning for those who did disclose their experiences as a child and while the abuse was still happening, the abuse did not always stop. Survivors reported that sometimes this was because what they were saying was not believed, or because their abuser was able to manipulate perceptions, but sometimes it's because the individuals who should have protected them once told did not. Previous research has established that child sexual abuse is difficult to prevent, detect, and interrupt given its secretive nature, the powerlessness of the victim, and that disclosure is an incredibly arduous process. Moreover, those children who are abused in a family or organized context may not have a safe person in their life that they can tell or who would take effective action to stop the abuse if they do tell. The survey also found there was a significant number of victims who were threatened with terrifying promises of harm. They were exceedingly violent in nature. There is an urgent need to reframe how we are tackling this issue. Current intervention responses are inadequate, and the existing model that primarily depends on a child disclosure is not feasible, nor is it fair to the child who is experiencing the abuse. We need to strengthen the coordination and communication between all systems and entities that intersect with victims of child sexual abuse and online exploitation. This includes, but is not limited to, child welfare, schools, hotlines, therapists, police, industry, child servant organizations, and advocacy centers, targeting and investing resources and training to assist police, child welfare, and other protective services to more readily recognize situations of risk will enable these systems to do a better job of recovering and intervening where warranted, thereby taking the unrealistic pressure off children to disclose in order to be protected. What I can find is exactly, the pressure off of children to disclose in order to be protected. That happened to me too, and the sheriff, the principal called me to the office, and I didn't understand why he called me to the office, had me sit there an hour each day for a week. And years later, asked him why he did it. He said, "We knew you were being abused." And I said, "But if I would have told, I would have got in trouble." He said, "No, we had you a place already." I said, "Then why couldn't y'all go ahead and help me without me having to say anything?" He said, "Because that's the law. You had to say something." So, yeah, y'all need to do something where a kid, because sometimes a kid cannot tell. Definitely. Many survivors reported multiple offenders and or multiple children involved in their sexual abuse. The internet has provided an opportunity for offenders to connect and work together in an organized fashion to commit more and more extreme sex acts against children. The depraved and pervasive nature of the sexual abuse reported by many of the respondents was shocking. For example, 58% of the survivors were abused by more than one offender, and 49% of survivors appeared to have been victims of organized sexual abuse. Organized sexual abuse. The term organized sexual abuse, when used in this document, means abuse. Yeah, but what I'm talking about, whenever, like if they knew I was being abused, but they had to wait till I said that I was being abused before I could be protected. Now, if I would have been taken out and to another atmosphere, if he would have told me, "Are you okay? Are you hurt?" I was almost ready to tell, you know, but I didn't know why I was really in there. I didn't know if I was in there to be reprimanded about something. I didn't know why I was in the office. I didn't know what I did wrong. Kind of found out I didn't do anything wrong. The term organized sexual abuse, when used in this document, means abuse that involves a child or multiple children being subjected to sexual abuse by multiple offenders working together to commit the abuse. In order to remedy this situation and produce mechanisms for supportive and effective intervention, a greater understanding of the symptoms and mechanics of dissociation disorders and organized sexual abuse is required at all levels. Wow, 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 wow. Understanding the symptoms and mechanics of dissociation disorders. Wow, wow, wow. I used to do a support group for an organization, and just about every one of them, whether or not they had dissociative identity disorder or what, but every one of us had dissociated. Talented sexual abusers and what I learned is, wow, it's pretty significant, ain't it? Did an essay in college on sexual abusers, and see what she says right here? It's that one pedophile has upwards of 100 victims. I sent you a link for you to check out, and if you want to raise awareness about them and possibly do live stream on these people who are in the link with you. Yes. Yeah. You could do that. Well, thank you. The unique needs of survivors of child sexual abuse and imagery are not being adequately addressed. Existing support services are not meeting the specialized needs of survivors. Not only is the victimization experienced by this population unique and complex, but the impacts of the abuse experience are long lasting and often lifelong. From what we have learned, not only do these survivors have incredible difficulty finding and financing the supports they need, but they require different levels and types of support at specific points throughout adulthood. Short term and generic trauma counseling would not lead these survivors to an adequate place of recovery. No, because a lot of the times the therapists do not believe in it. I mean, there was some horrible therapists I had that said, "Oh, your dad did not sexually abuse you. You wanted him to do that." Really? Who would want their daddy to sexually abuse them? Who would really want that? There is a necessity to develop comprehensive systems and remedies to properly recognize the rights and unique needs of victims whose abuse was recorded. Survivors will benefit from having accessible, knowledgeable therapists and attainable mechanisms for receiving financial compensation. Survivors must also be provided with the opportunity to have their voices heard within the criminal justice system. Victim impact statements. Yeah, like a lot of people, we really need a clinical psychologist that deals with dissociative identity disorders, that deals with severe PTSD, and there's also a CPTSD that has not been put into the books yet, but I think it does need addressed. It does need put in there as well. Demographics similar to what hotlines around the world witness in addressing child sexual abuse material. The overwhelming majority of survey respondents were female. This is consistent with international research studies examining rates of child sexual abuse. For example, a 2009 review of 65 prevalent studies involving 22 countries showed 7.9% of men and 19.7% of women had experienced some form of child sexual abuse prior to the age of 18. 65 studies had a total of 37,904 male participants and 63,118 female participants. Respondents also provided the country or continent at the time of the abuse. There's the country lived in at the time of the abuse. It's Canada, Germany. Look at the Netherlands right there. But still, like we said, there are so many that are not reported. So the numbers are not a true thing on it when it's even vast. So I think we had done real good on doing this part today. We did 5 years of psychotherapy for my twins, and we still had to do what they call tune-up counseling for anything life-changing in their life, like marriage, having a child. It's been 22 years. This is why each pediatrician has over a victim. Exactly. Most are not reported. And when you got people such as the police or somebody high in the government, they're not going to report them. A lot of times the medical people will not report them. My psychiatrist fussed at my doctor for not reporting about my husband abusing me, about these injuries and stuff. Like, why aren't you doing that? You're not doing your job. You're supposed to report it. I said, well, he put on the file that I slipped and fell and I just lost my balance and I hit my head or I did this by accident. He would not put on the form. I said, well, I told him that my husband pushed me or told him my husband did this and stuff. I said, but he keeps putting on the file that I slipped and fell. I lost my balance. So a lot of these things were not noted on there, but I did lie to my kids because my kids were small. I did lie and say I slipped and fell. I didn't say I slipped and fell because your daddy pushed me though, but they were too young to understand, and I shouldn't. I did not want to traumatize them, and maybe him turn to them and start abusing them as well. But yeah, after I dealt with abuse all my life, then I ended up marrying somebody that abused me. I really thought that he would be different. They always say that if we were abused, we look for somebody that does the same way as we were treated. No, I really thought this person was going to be different. He protected me at one point before we got together. So I really thought he was going to be different. I was not looking for somebody to continue on. I wanted somebody good to me. I wanted somebody to respect me. I wanted somebody we could have kids together that I wouldn't have to worry about messing with my kids, somebody to help our kids, things like that. But that's a cop out when a lot of people say that when we're abused or something like that, we look for somebody the same. No, we don't. It happens a lot of times. It's almost like we got sucker written across our top. But it's not our fault when this, like our husband or spouse or something like that, become abusive. It's not our responsibility when somebody does these. Yeah, whenever I saw any red flags, I would get away from somebody. But I did not see no red flags. He did not exhibit any at all. And he would not hit me until his mama told him to. And he said, Mama, I'm not supposed to hit her. And so at first he wouldn't do it. But then, it's like the Bible says to honor thy father and thy mother. So he felt like by not going ahead and hit me, he was uh, dishonoring the Bible. And so that's why I tell a lot of preachers that you need to put in there the Bible verse that says, honor the father and mother in the Lord, that this is right. Yeah, they were really good at hiding. You got that right. After you get into a relationship, a lot of people, these narcissists, all that, they show their true colors. If you exhibit any of these behaviors when we're dating, I'm gonna I'm gonna turn away from you. We might become friends, but that's it. But there's never gonna be a relationship. So be careful on how you treat others, even after y'all get together. If you want a long lasting relationship, or if you want a relationship and you want the person to be good to you and care, but there's are a lot of people that still take advantage. Oh no, that's the name I was trying to think about earlier. I was doing a post earlier, and I was trying to think about is this Alessi's parents were psychopaths? Oh man, I'm glad you said the word because now I was trying to think of that word earlier. I'm sorry that you endured that. Is he in jail? I hope he's in jail now. I have a friend that's got a book out. Narcissist. Oh, it's married to an illusion. Oh, wow. I can understand that. I truly understand that. Oh boy, ain't that bad when they see the evidence and then they have to make the kids testify? It should be bad enough that they have the scars and the memories. Why would it be a need for the child to do this beside me? It's horrific. Wow. 'Cause he would do it too, I'm sure. Poor kids. Poor kids. Thoughts and prayers go with your kids, okay? If you ever want to share your story on here, feel free. I wouldn't mind doing that if you ever felt strong enough. If you ever felt like it was okay, you know. I also have a blog talk radio that I want to get more, uh, ask more people stories that they could get out there on the blog talk so they can have a voice. The thoughts and prayers really go out to your children. Can y'all give whoever's here give lots of hearts to her kids for her and her kids? The hearts and prayer signs. Whoever's still in here. Lots of love and compassion to you for me. You could probably, yes, yes. So let me know when, do you know how to get in touch with me? I don't know if you got me on YouTube or, yes. Thankful that you got two wonderful kids. I'm sad that this really happened to them. You are an awesome, amazing lady. And thank you so much for being an amazing mom to these wonderful kids. Okay. Yeah, Chris, she got me a friend on Facebook, as well. Oh no, I am so sorry. How old was he when this happened? He was 23. I am one that believes that, if somebody's going through this horrible stuff, that they're not going to hell for it. I really believe that. Because it said, also, I really like this verse right here. But whoso shall fear one of these little ones who believe in me, and were better than a millstone were hanged about his neck, and that he will drown in the depth of the sea. About 3 to the age of 9 that I was with him. Yes, we pray for his justice. God gets a hold of his right. Amen. Amen to that. I know your son's feeling safe, I'm sure now, in the arms. God is a just God. You know, God don't want us to suffer more than what we already did. We have a righteous God. And we have, we thanks everybody for coming in. And we appreciate and lots of love and support for you and your kids. I'm here for you if you ever need to talk. And I'm gonna say God bless y'all. And y'all remember to be a voice for people who don't have a voice, can't talk, can't speak. We will be their justice for them. Thank you, everybody, and God bless.